Hey guys, Rick Stone here from Stoney Acres Gardening. Today we are going to be talking about things that you can be planting in your garden during the month of April. Now I do these planting guide videos every month, and normally by now I like to be outside in the garden, but this is a picture of what my garden looks like today. So we are obviously not going to be out in the garden for this video. But there is still quite a bit that's going to be happening during the month of April because that snow is not going to stick around. And so there's a lot of things that we need to be covering today. So this video is intended for those of you that live in zones 5 through 7, but more importantly, it's intended for those of you that have a last frost date somewhere between about mid-April to mid-May, okay? Ultimately, your last frost date is more important than your garden zone. And so this video is intended for those of you that are about April 15th through May 15th is your planting date. We're going to go through and talk about some of the things that you can be putting in outside. And we're going to talk about 3 different things today. We're going to cover stuff that you can still be going inside to get your transplants and things ready. We're going to talk about things that you can direct seed outside during the month of April. And then we're going to talk about things that you can be putting out as transplants as well. So let's get started. But before we do get started, make sure you subscribe to my channel and go follow us over on Instagram as well. I'd love to have you join us there. And then make sure you get signed up for the wait list for our Get Your Garden Planted Challenge, which is coming up the end of April, 1st of May. We're taking people on the wait list right now. I'll talk more about that at the end of the video. All right, so let's cover what we should be doing in April. First thing, let's talk about what we can be putting inside still. So things that we can still be growing indoors under our grow lights, transplants that we're going to be putting out when things get a little bit warmer, okay? Our seed starting time is really starting to get short and we're running out of time. But if you still got 6 weeks or so before your last frost date, then you could still be starting some of your warm season crops like peppers, eggplants, and tomatoes. All of those you could be starting inside. It's also okay for you to still be indoors starting some of your cool season crops, mostly leafy greens. So things like lettuce and spinach, Swiss chard, kale, collards, those types of things. You can be doing some indoor seed starting and then get them out once the weather has kind of finally settled as April progresses along. Now, there is another group of plants that you shouldn't have been starting yet, but it's getting close to being time for you to get those started, and that is the squash family. So most squash family plants do not like to be transplanted very much. And so we want them, when we do transplant them, to be young and just getting started. They seem to stand up to transplanting a lot better. So about 3 to 4 weeks before your last frost date, which is coming up for all of us, you know, here within the next 2 or 3 weeks, you want to be starting indoors things like cucumbers, winter squashes, summer squashes, and all of the melon family. All of those, if you want to be doing those indoors, then you want to start those about 3 to 4 weeks before the last frost date so that when you transplant them out, they've only maybe got 2 or 3 true leaves, and they're still fairly small plants. So we want to make sure that we're doing that fairly soon here in the month of April, okay? Now let's talk about what we can be direct seeding in April. First off, anything in the leafy green family, you can be direct seeding. So spinach, lettuce, Swiss chard, kale, collards, any of those leafy greens can be planted directly by seed out in the garden anytime during the month of April. As long as you've got somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost or less, you can be planting those leafy greens out in the garden, okay? Other things that you can be planting directly by seed out in the garden right now would be your root crops. So carrots, turnips, beets, radishes, rutabagas, and parsnips. All of those can be planted during the month of April, directly seeded out in the ground. And we always just direct seed those root crops because they don't transplant very well, okay? Other things that you could be transplanting this or planting directly out in the garden would be like Asian greens and then peas, anything in the pea family. So your snow peas, your shelling peas, and your sugar snap peas, all of those can be directly seeded out in the garden during the month of April. And then potatoes. So potatoes are technically a warm season crop, but they actually stand up to frost pretty well. And they also take a little while to get growing and get developing. And so usually in April, we want to start our first plantings of potatoes. Maybe somewhere between 3 to 4 weeks before your last frost date, you can start putting those potatoes in. And it's going to be a couple weeks before they start coming up. And if they do come up and when they get a little frost, that's okay, because the main part of the plant is under the ground and is protected. Those leaves might die back, but they'll recover and you should be okay. So now is a great time. April is a great time to start planting your potatoes as well. And then we have a bunch of different plants that you can be putting out as transplants. And again, the first things that come to mind here is if you've got transplants started of leafy greens, spinach, lettuce, Swiss chard, kale, collards, all of those that we've talked about 3 times already, those can be, you can start putting those transplants out into the garden in April. And then anything in the broccoli family. So broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kohlrabi, all of those, if you've got transplants of those, or if you want to go buy some transplants, either one, those can be put directly out into the garden during the month of April. Usually with those, we want to target about 4 weeks before your last frost date. So, for me, that means about mid-April, I'm going to be putting my broccoli and cauliflower and those types of plants out into the garden, okay? What else? Berry plants. So strawberries, blackberries, raspberries, blueberries, currants, all of those berry plants. If you're planning on putting some of those in, April is the time to get those in. You want to get those either bare root or potted plants out into your garden so that they have some time to get established before the warmer weather comes. So any berry plants you can get out now. And then if you want to get really adventurous, you can get one of these. So this is a wall of water. They come in several other names as well. I've seen them called cozy coats or season starters, but what it is it's a water-filled clutch. And so let me show you a picture of what they look like full. You put these out and they act as a greenhouse that provides a really warm environment for your plants. And it gives you an opportunity to cheat a little bit and get some of your warm season crops out early. I have planted tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, those warm season crops up to 4 weeks before my last frost date using a wall of water. And it works out beautifully because then I'm 6 weeks to a month ahead of schedule with my tomatoes, and I get an extra early harvest. Oftentimes we'll be harvesting tomatoes end of June, 1st of July, if we plant some in those wall of water. So that's a fun thing to do. And again, wall of water, cozy coats, season starters, they all work really well, and a great kind of fun thing that you can do to get an extra early start, okay? All right, so that is a look at what we should be planting during the month of April. Let me know if you guys have any additions that you want to be making to the list, and we'll look at those as well. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you join us, and make sure you go follow us over on Instagram as well. I'd love to have you join us there. Now, I did want to mention really quickly a little bit about our Get Your Garden Planted Challenge. This is a 5-day challenge that we've done. This will be the 4th year that we've done this challenge. We've had hundreds of people participate in it. It's an opportunity to kind of give you a little poke to get out and get your garden planted. A little inspiration, a little peer pressure to make it happen. And so it's a 5-day program with an additional bonus 6-day. It'll start this year on May 1st and run through May 6th. And what we're going to do is I have about 25 to 30 minutes each day of information that I'm going to give you, things that I'm going to teach you. It's all pre-recorded, so you can watch it anytime during the day. And then on the 6th, everything will kind of build up to getting out and actually getting your garden planted on that Saturday. We'll do a live broadcast with a Q&A session on that Saturday that you can come and join in on, and then we'll get out and get our gardens planted on the 6th of May. So this is a fun program. Cost is only $19. We've had literally hundreds of people participate in it. It's a lot of fun, and so I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So we've started the wait list. And so if you want to click either this link up here or the link down in the description of this video, you can go get signed up for that challenge. And like I say, it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got prizes. There's a workbook. Just a lot of fun stuff happening. So would love to have you come and join us on that. So get signed up for that wait list. Okay, that, my friends, is all I have for you for this week. Everybody have a fantastic week. Happy gardening.